This podcast is supported by Talkspace.
When my husband came home from his military deployment, readjusting was hard for all of us. Thankfully, I found Talkspace.
Talkspace provides professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatric providers online. Military members, veterans, and their dependents ages 13 and older can get fast access to providers, all from the privacy of their computers or smartphones.
I just answered a few questions online, and Talkspace matched me with a therapist. We meet when it's convenient for me, and I can message her anytime. It was so easy to set up, and they accept TRICARE. Therapy was going so well, my husband and I started seeing a couples therapist through Talkspace too.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, including TRICARE. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com/military. Go to Talkspace.com/military to get started today. That's Talkspace.com/military.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I am your host, Peter Zablocki, and you're listening to the 11th limited series of the History Shorts podcast. Each weekend this month, I will examine some secret, or rather less known tales from World War II. The idea for this series and the specific topics come from the book Top Secret Tales of World War II by William Brewer, published by Castle Books in 2008. This series is brought to you by the Podcast Republic, your ultimate podcast listening app. Discover and subscribe to thousands of podcasts from around the globe, all in one place. Download Podcast Republic now and take your podcast experience to the next level. As always, thank you for continuing to tune in each day and allowing me to tell you a story. And if you have not already done so, make sure you click that subscribe button. And if you like this show, the best thing you can do is tell a friend. For more information, please visit www.historyshortspodcast.com. Today, on our first episode of History Shorts' Secret World War II series, the 1939 Operation Himmler.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Europe in the summer of 1939 balanced on the edge of catastrophe. The fragile peace created by the Treaty of Versailles 2 decades earlier had been systematically dismantled by Adolf Hitler's Reich. Since 1933, Germany had rebuilt its military, reclaimed territories, and asserted dominance over Central Europe. Austria was annexed in March of 1938, the Sudetenland ceded later that year at Munich, and by March 1939, Hitler broke promises entirely, seizing the rest of Czechoslovakia. Now his focus turned eastward, to Poland, specifically the free city of Danzig and the Polish Corridor, regions stripped from Germany after World War I. Yet there lay a challenge. Unlike previous conquests, an invasion of Poland risked provoking Britain and France, both of which had signed mutual defense treaties with Warsaw. To avoid appearing as the aggressor, Hitler required a plausible pretext for war. On August 22, 1939, in a meeting with top military commanders at his Bavarian retreat, Hitler made his intentions unmistakable. "I shall give a cause for the unleashing of war," he declared. "Its credibility is irrelevant. The victor will not be asked whether he told the truth." This directive marked the beginning of Operation Himmler, a coordinated series of false flag operations along the German-Polish border designed to manufacture evidence of Polish aggression. By creating the illusion that Germany was under attack, Hitler aimed to justify his invasion both to the German public and, if possible, to neutral observers abroad. One critical factor emboldened Hitler's plans. On the 23rd of August, 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. This treaty, negotiated in secrecy, included a protocol dividing Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Under its terms, Poland would be partitioned between Germany and the USSR. With Stalin neutralized, Hitler believed he had secured Germany's eastern flank. Time, however, became a pressing concern. The German invasion of Poland, codenamed Fall Weiss, was set for the 1st of September 1939. That left barely a week to create the appearance of provocation and laid the groundwork for propaganda. The responsibility fell to Reinhard Heydrich, head of the SD secret police and deputy to Heinrich Himmler, the chief of the SS. Together with Gestapo chief Heinrich Müller, they devised a network of staged border incidents, acts of violence, sabotage, and simulated Polish raids. These operations would be executed primarily by SS units, but disguised as Polish military actions. At the center of this web was a rising figure within the SD, the SS Sturmbannführer Alfred Naujax. Heydrich tasked him with leading the most important single provocation, the seizure of a radio station in Gleiwitz. The plan, finalized in late August, involved 21 separate incidents along the Polish-German frontier. The objectives were twofold. First, to convince the German public that Poland had launched unprovoked attacks, and second, to provide Hitler with a justification to present to the Reichstag and the international community. Among these incidents, several were particularly significant. As I mentioned, at the Gleiwitz radio station, SD agents would capture the station, broadcast an inflammatory message in Polish, and leave behind evidence of Polish attackers. At other custom posts, German positions would be fired upon and destroyed to simulate Polish aggression. In addition, sabotage would be staged on nearby rail lines, where Polish weapons would be left behind to reinforce the illusion of a coordinated enemy action. To make these incidents believable, Heydrich introduced the chilling concept of conserve, or canned goods, bodies dressed in Polish uniforms, planted at the scenes to create the appearance of combat deaths. These were not volunteers by any means. They were actually prisoners from concentration camps, executed by lethal injection or gunshots, specifically for this operation. Alfred Naujax would later testify at the Nuremberg trials about Heydrich's blunt instructions: shoot a few shots, scatter the bodies, and leave the rest to us. As tensions reached their peak, the evening of August 31, 1939 became decisive. At approximately 8 p.m., Naujax led his SD team to the Gleiwitz radio station, near the Polish and German border. The small German staff on duty was subdued without any incident. The operatives set up the stage broadcast, reading a prepared Polish-language statement urging armed resistance against Germany. Attention, this is Gleiwitz. The station is in Polish hands. The time has come for war between Germany and Poland. The transmission was brief, less than a minute actually, but its purpose was never to persuade Polish listeners. The signal range was also too limited. Instead, German authorities ensured that local police, newspapers, and international correspondents would discover the incident almost immediately. Outside the station, the SS placed the first conserve, a murdered prisoner from Dachau, dressed in a Polish uniform. The body was photographed, catalogued, and left behind for reporters. By midnight, German state-controlled media carried headlines about the Polish assault on Gleiwitz. Although Gleiwitz became the most infamous element of Operation Himmler, it was only one of many staged provocations on that August 31st, and into the early hours of September 1st, when the war actually started. At Hochlinden, SD operatives destroyed a German customs post with explosives, leaving Polish weapons behind to suggest a raid. In a nearby town, German agents staged an armed assault, firing blanks and scattering spent Polish ammunition to simulate a firefight. And yet in another place, a railway bridge was sabotaged, its damage deliberately attributed to Polish saboteurs. In most places, bodies in Polish uniforms were discovered by German patrols, reinforcing the narrative of a broad offensive. In total, as I mentioned, 21 fabricated Polish attacks were reported by German newspapers within 24 hours. Once the operation concluded, Joseph Goebbels, Minister of Propaganda, assumed control of shaping the narrative. German newspapers, radio stations, and newsreels were flooded with stories of Polish atrocities along the German frontier. Reports were uniform, emphasizing Polish recklessness and brutality, portraying Germany as the victim of repeated unprovoked assaults. Goebbels framed Britain and France as silent enablers, accusing them of encouraging Polish hostility. By contrast, Hitler was presented by the German public as a reluctant leader pushed to the brink and forced to defend German sovereignty. By dawn of September 1st, the German public awoke to a carefully constructed reality. Poland had attacked, and Germany had no choice but to respond. The farce worked. At 4:45 a.m., mere hours after the Gleiwitz incident, the German battleship Schleswig-Holstein opened fire on the Polish garrison at Westerplatte, marking the official start of the invasion. Simultaneously, the Wehrmacht forces crossed the border along multiple fronts, advancing rapidly under the doctrine of blitzkrieg. At 10 a.m., Hitler addressed the Reichstag. This night, regular Polish soldiers fired on our territory. Since 5:45 a.m., we have been returning fire. The Gleiwitz attack and its accompanying stage incidents had provoked the necessary justification. To the German public, the invasion now seemed a defensive response to Polish aggression. To Hitler, the groundwork had been laid for controlling the narrative, both domestically and internationally. Despite Goebbels' carefully orchestrated campaign, however, Britain and France remained unconvinced. Both governments had watched Hitler repeatedly violate agreements since 1936 and viewed the alleged Polish attacks with skepticism. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and his French counterpart issued urgent demands for Germany to withdraw from Polish territory immediately. When Hitler refused, Britain and France declared war on September 3, 1939. Operation Himmler had succeeded in rallying the German population behind Hitler, but it failed in its broader strategic aim. The deception did not prevent European escalation. The truth about Operation Himmler emerged during the Nuremberg trials of 1945 and 46, although by then, everyone knew it. Testimonies from Alfred Naujax and other captured SD officers revealed the planning, execution, and use of conserve in detail. Investigators uncovered photographic evidence, operational directives, and Gestapo records confirming that the Gleiwitz incident and related provocations were entirely staged. Historians now regard Operation Himmler as a seminal example of state-orchestrated deception. It revealed the Nazi regime's mastery of information manipulation, blending targeted violence with coordinated propaganda to control perceptions at home and abroad. But by September 1, 1939, the deception no longer mattered. The Wehrmacht had crossed the border. First battles of the Second World War had begun, and within days, Europe was fully at war. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our regularly scheduled episode.